Hello, fourth graders. How are you doing? I hope that you're all doing good. Welcome to a new science lecture video in which we're going to continue our lesson about flowering plants. But first, let me remind you that plants are living organisms classified according to special criteria into trees, shrubs, and herbs. And they are also classified into two large groups, which are cultivated and wild plants. A plant with a large size and one woody stem is called a tree. So trees are large-sized plants with one woody stem that we call a trunk. Sometimes it's called a stipe, like the stem of the palm trees. And these plants are perennial. This means that they live for more than 2 years. Other plants, such as the oleander plant, have a medium size, and they also have many woody stems. These plants are also perennial. They live for more than 2 years, and these are the shrubs. The last group of plant is the herbs. Herbs are small in size with green, hollow, flexible stems. These plants are not perennial. So according to their sizes and to the type of their stems, plants are classified into trees, shrubs, and herbs. All organisms, plants, need several things. They have basic needs such as water, sunlight, minerals, carbon dioxide. When we provide plants with their needs, we consider plants as cultivated plants. Since cultivated plants are plants that need the man's care, while wild plants are plants that grow by themselves in nature without the help of man, without us caring for them. So if you want to classify plants into cultivated and wild plants, you have to look at the one taking care of these plants. Most plants on earth, trees, shrubs, herbs, are flowering plants. Some others are non-flowering plants, such as ferns, pine trees, cedar trees, mosses, and dot plants. Most of the plants, as I said, are flowering plants, such as tulips, sunflowers, orchids, apple trees, and I know that you know other examples of flowering plants. The flower is an important part of a flowering plant since it helps in the reproduction of the plant. Reproduction is the process of reproducing or making new organisms out of old organisms. So an apple tree, for example, makes seeds. These seeds, once planted in the soil, will make a new apple tree. This is what we mean by the word reproduction. Reproduction is making new organisms. The flower is the reproductive organ of the flowering plants. Let me write this for you. So the flower is the reproductive organ of a flowering plant. And all the parts of a flower are involved in the reproduction process. This means that petals help in the plant's reproduction. Sepals help in the plant reproduction. The male part, which is the stamen, stamens have an important role in the plant's reproduction. The anther of the stamen, the head of the male part, the anther produces the pollens. This is the filament holding the anther. The anther and the filament together build the stamen. Look, in the middle you have this part, which is the pistil or the carpel. This is the female part. It consists of a stigma, a style, and an ovary. And you can clearly see the ovules inside the ovary. Look at this. So these are the ovules inside the ovary. These are the ovules, and they are found inside the ovary of the pistil of the flower. For the reproduction to happen, first of all, the flower uses its petals to attract pollinators. So petals, these purple parts in this case, in this flower, attract pollinators. They attract animals with their beautiful smell and beautiful colors. Sepals, which are these leaf-like structures, sepals protect the flower as it is growing. They protect the bud, the young flower. The anther, the yellow part, this is the anther. It makes pollen grains, pollen grains. Pollen is super important. The anther produces pollen grains. Pollen grains land on the stigma, on this part. So pollen grains will come from the anther to the stigma to land there, and then pollen grains will move down to the ovary. Look at this picture right here. Can you see the pollen grain leading down, moving down to the ovary where the ovules are waiting? Here is the ovary, and the ovules are inside. And again, here is the anther. On the anther, you will see the pollen grains. Pollen grains need to be moved from the anther to the stigma. Once a pollen grain is on the stigma, it will use the style to move down to the ovary. In the ovary, the pollen meets the ovule. When the pollen meets the ovule, you will have a seed formed. This part right here, this step in here, is called pollination. Pollination is transferring, is moving pollen grains from the male anther to the female stigma. So it's from the male anther to the female stigma. Again, from the male anther to the female stigma. This is pollination. Pollination can be done by wind or by a pollinator such as bees or butterflies. This is a perfect flower. We talked about perfect flowers in the last worksheet. This flower shows a pistil, and also it shows 4 stamens. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. A perfect flower shows male organs and female organs. So male organs and female organs are present in this flower. They are both present. If we take a close look on the squash flowers, we will see that there is a flower with a pistil or with stamens only. And we will see a flower with pistils only. The squash plant do not have perfect flowers. It grows flowers with pistils alone or stamens alone. That's what we call imperfect flower. Let me explain again. Look at the first flower light here, the colored one. As you can see, this flower shows a pistil. So I'm talking about this one right here. Look at the pistil standing in the middle, which is the green part, and the purple ones are the stamens. Since both the male part and the female part are present, so here we have the male part, here we have the female part in the middle, so we call this flower a perfect flower. It is perfect. It shows both parts. Let's look now on the right side of the screen. Let's look at these two flowers. This one has the pistil only, the pistil with its stigma, style, and ovary. Is there any stamen? No. So the pistil is present, the stamen is not. Look at the second one. As you can see, there is 1, 2, 3, 4 stamens. There is a stamen, but not a pistil. In each case, there is something missing. There is an organ missing. One flower shows female part. It is the female flower. The second shows male parts. It is the male flower. In this case, pollen must be moved from the male flower to the female flower, and not like this. In a perfect flower, pollen moves from the anther to the stigma. Let me change the color. Look at the colored flower. So in here, pollen moves from the anther to the stigma. In this case, also the pollen grain is moved from the anther to the stigma of a female flower. After mating or after the combination of a pollen with an ovule, you will have a seed. Here is the seed. Seed planted in the soil will start growing roots, stem, and then flowers with seeds inside. Then the seeds planted in the soil will grow roots, then a stem, leaves, and a flower. The flower will help the plant to make seeds. We put the seeds in the ground, we water them, they will grow roots, they will grow stem, they will grow leaves and flower, and so on. It is a cycle that starts with a seed. You put the seed in the soil, you will have seedling or a young plant. The plant will grow flowers, and then the flowers will make seeds, and so on. It is a cycle. So this is the life cycle of a flowering plant. This is all for today. Let's make a quick revision about what I said. Flowering plants are plants that grow flowers. The flowers will help them make seeds. So we can now define flowering plants as plants that grow seeds in their flowers. Pollination is the process of moving pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. This step can be done by pollinators or pollen helpers, such as bees, bats, birds, or the wind. A flower shows different basic parts. The petals, which are the colored part with a good smell to attract pollinators. The sepals, so we talked about petals, the sepals to protect the buds as the flower is growing. The stamen, which is the male reproductive part with two parts, anther and filament. The carpel or the pistil with its stigma style ovary. Flowering plants have a life cycle. Look at the seed. The seeds planted in the soil grows into a plant. The plant grows flowers, and then the flowers make seeds. So this is the life cycle of a flowering plant. The seed planted in the soil will grow into a plant. The plant grows flowers. The flowers make seeds, and so on. If you still have any question about the lesson, I will be happy to answer you. See you in class, and bye-bye.